Welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today on another Ginette Biro Podcast. So I'm going to start the podcast here right away, but I always want to give you guys a shout out, those that are watching on YouTube. Thank you so much for joining me. Super appreciate it. So I was just about to start, but I'm going to plug in the podcast here so that we get it all in one shot. And welcome everyone to the Ginette Biro Podcast. I'm Ginette Biro, and today we have some really interesting information, and normally I have it a little better laid out as I'm going to talk about it, but there is so much. I may even have to do this in two parts just because it's a lot of information to take in, and I have been working really hard both in my brain intellectually and energetically to make sense of the magnitude of stuff that has happened, because honestly, you guys, we have had a ton of stuff happen since this Lionsgate portal. It's been a lot, and I'm sure a lot of you have been feeling it as well, but I'm going to do my best to explain. And so first of all, what I want to talk about is this Lionsgate portal was amazing in that there was so much energy that was pulled together, again, slightly in the higher realms, in the fourth dimension. A lot of darkness from the fourth dimension departed our planet. This is really cool because this actually did happen. It's not something we were just hoping would happen and then we don't really know. It actually did happen. I was able to see it, and there was this big departure of this energy, of this darkness energy. And it was the sources of that darkness energy, the root pieces. So it's like when you unroot something, you take out the source of it, but there's still remaining bits left over. And when I spoke to that root darkness, what it said was that although it was leaving and it was going, there was still a ripple effect that needed to be cleaned up. And so it was kind of compared to like if you have a beautiful pond, but this pond has been taken over by a certain species of plant, you take out that plant at the root, and that's awesome. But there are other things that have grown as a result of that plant. So you're going to have different subspecies of other plants that have grown because of that plant. Same with bacteria and certain animals that are because of that source plant. So now that you take that source plant out and uproot it, clean it out, there are still other aspects or ripples that need to be cleared out as well. So that's kind of what we're in right now. So again, the source darkness has departed, and now we are in the midst of cleaning up or cleaning out or allowing the remaining darkness to surface. And a lot of what has exited and will continue to exit is the embodiment of distorted patriarchy. So that sounds really big and one-sided and judgmental, and it sure is not. Because just as we have polarity on this planet, light and dark, there are opposites of energetic systems that are feminine, energetic systems that are masculine, and this is not within a gender, this is an energy. And there's a distortion in the logical, linear side, which we could connect to patriarchy. Okay, I hope you guys are following me. This is what is leaving, and this enriching grandfather-like energy of patriarchy is what is wanting to come in. And so what I mean by that is, as the feminine energies have been transforming, there's been a big return, for me especially in visions and stuff, of this grandmother spider-like energy. And she's divine, she's a safe place, she's wisdom-bearing, she's kind, firm, this divine feminine. And that's the divine matriarchy. Now what's coming back though is this divine patriarchy, this beautiful grandfather-like energy. And if you think of it, there's the idea of the mother or the maiden mother crone, just the same as there is the hunter father sage. And so we're moving in and wanting to embrace the sage energy of that masculine energy, which we are starting to see. And so it's not about pushing out patriarchy like some far-winged sides like to do, just like extreme feminism doesn't do us any good. Neither does looking negatively upon patriarchy. or the masculine. It's not the masculine didn't do its thing. It's the embodiment of the pure energy of that aspect, just like there needs to be an embodiment of the pure energy of the feminine. Does that make sense? I hope it does. So there's a returning of what I like to call the grandfather energy, just like the grandmother energy is here. And this is awesome because this brings us into this balanced polarity. And like I said, I would see the grandmother spider symbolism a lot. But what I started to see was also this grandfather spider symbolism. And he actually came through in this kind of sage color. And then that's what really made it make sense to me in relation to the hunter father sage cycle of the masculine. So we're bringing in this beautiful energy now, which I'm grateful for, because this is what's helping to create a stability as the remaining pieces of these dark ripples are being cleared and are surfacing. Now, within that, I have to skip to the end. You should see my notes here. Within that, though, with this remaining surfacing, we're going to find that fear is going to amplify. So the fear energies are going to amplify, because what's happened is, leading up to this Lionsgate portal, there was such a request and an invitation from Spirit for people to dive off the waterfall, do it themselves, purposely do it, be willing to do it, so that they didn't have to be pushed. Now what's happening since this portal is closed is, in essence, kind of people are being shoved off the waterfall. And this is not in a form of punishment or anything. It's just those that are kind of fearful of being kind of shoved off, because we have to be going over the waterfall now. There's no way around it. You can't climb down. You have to go through. And so that is raising up more chaos or fear in people, because again, if you're standing at the edge of a cliff or a literal waterfall, if you choose to jump yourself, it's a touch less scary than if someone comes and shoves you off, right? That's kind of common sense. So it's that same idea. So this fear energy is going to amplify a little bit on the planet, but that is the remaining ripples. The source of it isn't feeding it anymore, which is a cool thing. So if you think about it, those people that are very strategic in implementing controlled things, and they have to have things their way, and anything that's going to be challenging that this fall is going to elicit a fear or an anxiety. And so we're going to find we're kind of swimming in those waters, and those that are very aware are going to swim in those waters with no problem. Maybe not no problem, but with awareness, so they won't be kind of taken down by it. Those that are swimming blind are going to be feeling the frigidity of those waters and will have a harder time with it. So that being said, if you're someone that you don't feel like you have gone over the waterfall yet, you could still jump right before you get pushed. Or if you feel you already have been pushed, your awareness is key to changing your experience in the water. I'm going to repeat that. Your awareness is key to changing your experience. Your experience can be extreme or it can be subtle based on your perception. So the more open you are to the experience and moving with it, the less intensity it needs to affect you. So consider that. You are in control of your perception. So that's a really good thing. So again, this is all happening because the old way isn't working anymore, nor is it allowed to come back. And that's a really neat thing too. It can't come back. It's like a zip tie. It's been tightened. You can't release it the other way. So again, we are in this big push of changing in the directions that we want to go. So this is beautiful. And again, Spirit has said we are making way and we are going in the direction they were hoping. A lot of it we are seeing under the surface. So those that can see into higher dimensions, higher frequencies with clairvoyance are seeing this. Some of you that are very empathic might be feeling this, even amongst the chaos. You're feeling underneath like, this is okay though. This is going in the right direction. And it is. It inherently is. Which is why I'm really excited. So that was the first part that I wanted to talk about. The second part that I wanted to talk about is this really neat idea that right now, those that are, many of you are very empathic. And so you feel people really intuitively. You can sense stuff. You can feel the energies in a room, but specifically with other people, you can feel essences of how they're feeling. Maybe it's very detailed or maybe it's broad, but you feel it. You're feeling more than just you. You're empathically receiving energetic communication from them. The interesting thing I'm understanding now, and again, all of this information is from a series of sources. So it's from the three guides of the light. It's in conversation with other divinely connected people on this planet. This is why it has taken me a while to understand all of it. But what we're seeing is those that are very empathic, many of you will be finding that your empathic ability is starting to increase more into an empathic clairvoyance. And so what that means is you may start to notice more visual cues of how somebody is feeling. So before, you may have just experienced somebody, being sad or upset because you energetically felt it. But now what you might find is you actually see them with, say, a deep blue color behind them. Or you see a gray energy to their face, or however you interpret it. And that's the thing, is your interpretation is going to be your truth. So several people who can tune in empathically and clairvoyantly might look at the same person and see something different, but the interpretation is the same. So the idea is not to discredit your interpretation, but feel your truth with what you see. Okay? So again, your empathic nature for many people is going to be moving into a realm of a combination of clairvoyance and clairsentience. So clear vision and clear seeing. So the reason why they're saying this, why the three guides are bringing this information through, is so that when we do see this happen, when you do see a flash of something on somebody, near somebody, it's so that it doesn't freak you out. Because as much as people want to see stuff, they're like, prove it to me, let me see it. When it actually does happen, it is unnerving. It really is. It's unnerving because it challenges the human mind and the human ego. Even if we're open to it, it makes it more tangible. It makes it more real. And so if they can give you a little bit of a heads up that this is kind of what's on its way and what's developing, then you can see, you can feel more prepared for it in a sense. Apparently my cat has a lot of stuff she wants to say too. She's a goofball. Okay, so that was the second thing. Now, the third thing, and I think I'm going to leave it at this for this one after this, so I'll talk about these three. The third thing is really quite cool because, again, it's coming to this, it's coming to the table with the same thing of tangibility. And what that is that we are already seeing and will continue to see a lot of activity in the night sky, which is really cool. So, for example, the other night I saw this huge flash in the night sky, probably the size of like what looked to me like a football in the shape of a diamond, and it just went like, and it opened right up. And shortly after that, I had a great conversation with some higher light beings, which was great, and I knew that connection was them. Now, to some people that just sounds crazy and outlandish, and to others it makes total sense. So what I want to share with you guys in this idea is the activity in the night sky is a way to introduce the tangibility and the realness of other beings. Aliens, for lack of a better word. And alien really is something not of this planet. So a meteor is considered an alien form. It's non-living, but it's an alien piece, not of this planet. So just consider that, because then that might take away some of the preconceived idea of alien. It is any being that is not of this planet. Now here's where I want to go with this is, I'll come back to what I saw in the night sky, but I had a really neat chat with my kids the other day, and we were driving in the car, and I was talking to my daughter, and she was asking me about aliens, and then my son pipes up. He says, "Mom, I don't think I believe in aliens." And I said, "Why is that, buddy?" He's like, "Well, because they're all just like fake stories on movies." And I said, some of the stories themselves on movies are fake, for sure. But I was like, I want to explain something, and then you can decide for yourself. So I said, with all of the planets in our Milky Way galaxy, or even our solar system, those planets, think about the amount that are in our Milky Way galaxy. And that is simply one galaxy. Do you think that we are the only planet in the whole galaxy that could have life on it? And he said, well, probably not. I said, okay. Now, we do know that there's millions of galaxies. And he said, yeah. And I said, do you think in those galaxies, that out of all those millions of galaxies plus ours, we are the only planet that has living beings? And he said, no, I don't think so. I said, okay. So then when living beings on those planets die, just like when humans on our planet die, do you think that there are only human spirits? Or do you think there's spirits of different kinds of beings from different places? And he's like, you know, Mom, if you put it that way, it makes sense. And he's 8, right? He's 8. And it wasn't me telling him what is right or wrong. It was merely introducing a thought to elicit some pondering. And that's really what I'm doing with you guys. I can only speak from my experience, and I will share my experience, and it's authentic and it's true to me. But you don't have to take it as your truth. You can listen to it as a story, but I would invite you to ponder that idea, because we are connected to something so much greater. And so then coming back to the night sky, there was so much activity in the night sky just after the meteor shower. And there still is, and that's what they're saying, is there still is. So look up to the night sky, because you guys will see and experience different things, whether it be big flashes that are not a plane, you know, or I saw also the series of what we would consider a satellite at first. I'm like, oh, there's a satellite. And then I'm like, oh, there's another satellite right behind it. And then there was a third one. I'm like, oh, there's 3 satellites in a row. I'm like, that's crazy. And, you know, still thinking it's satellites. And then the lights went on in the room because my husband came in. And I was telling him, I was like, there's 3 satellites. It was so interesting. And he comes in and then shuts the light off. And I'm looking outside the window. And all of a sudden, those 3 were 2 and 2 with equal space in between, moving all of a sudden. And that was only maybe a minute later. And then as soon as I said that, this giant shooting star went right underneath them. It was the most activity in a structured format. I've watched meteor showers before and stuff like that, but it was most activity in a structured format that I had seen. And that was in addition to that flash of light, plus the light beings that I talked to and whatnot. And I do know from Spirit that there is a desire to bring in more connectedness to the wholeness that is our existence here. Meaning we are multifaceted beings, and there are more multifaceted beings in connection to our life, in our ascension, in our awareness. But first, we have to get over the idea of aliens. The term alien being all bad, being crazy, being woo, being any of that. We have to get over that idea. And so what I'm getting at with this is, some of you might be listening to this and thinking, yeah, I got it, makes perfect sense. Others might be like, I don't know, I'm kind of on the fence here. Something feels like maybe there's some truth or maybe not. And some of you might not be ready for it at all. If you're not ready for it at all, simply take it as a story, like the story I shared with my 8-year-old in the car. Ponder it from a form of logic, and then leave it there if that's it. And maybe you'll come back to this and listen to it later. Or maybe you ponder it and you sit out in the night sky the next couple nights and you just notice what you notice. That's it. But what I encourage you guys to do is to ponder. Because again, I have more to share too, and I will on another podcast, but we made such a massive shift in consciousness underneath and in that 4th dimensional layer. We are moving in a higher, faster trajectory of change, which is good. We are doing the right things. And the more open-minded we are to being a part of something greater, the higher our vibrations go. And the higher our vibrations go, the more we help gather up any remaining darkness to transmute it, shift it to light, and carry on and ascend and grow. So it's all very much interconnected. But it is about honoring where you're at. So all of that being said, I appreciate you guys following me on my tangent to tell my roundabout stories. Again, I have more to share with you guys, and I will. I just appreciate you guys joining in. I am going to be away from the podcast for at least a week. I'm having a surgery tomorrow, which is actually quite interesting because it is almost exactly a year from my surgery, which led to my NDE last year. So it's funny how it's come full circle in this cycle. So I will be out for just a little bit, but hopefully within about 2 weeks or so I'll be back and I can fill you in more on the podcast with more interesting stuff to share. So I wish you guys a wonderful day. Thank you so much for joining. Please like and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. If I get up to 500 viewers, then I will give away 2 free readings. And as we go up in numbers, I will continue to give in gratitude to you guys. If you're listening to this on the podcast, thank you so much. I truly appreciate it. Feel free to comment. And also, guys, if you have topics you'd like to know about, please do send me a message, whether it be on YouTube through the podcast, on Facebook under Avalon Spirit, or Ginette Biro Medium, both on Facebook and Instagram. You guys can reach me there. So sending you lots of love, and I will check back in fairly soon.